I just hit the record button. I'm recording a video. I'm sorry about my complexion altering. It's partly cloudy today, but in this video, I want to preface this really quickly by just acknowledging something that looks to be pretty fucking true. Hindsight is so painfully 2020. When it comes to advice, when it comes to like some of the best advice that you'll ever hear, a lot of it's pretty obvious, and a lot of it is just going to be completely, it's not going to register. Like the people who really seem to need to hear it, it's not going to process. It's going to be wasted. It's just, and then the people that are going to be able to be like, oh yep, that's really fucking true. There's a lot of truth there. It's just going to be, you're just making people feel bad, really. You're just going to make people, you're just being a dick at that point. I don't want to be Captain Hindsight. I don't want to be the guy who's just, you fucked up and now you gotta, for no reason, you're just being an asshole at that point. But at the same time, I think there's at least some value, maybe. So creating people, I want to talk about some of the motivations that lead to the creations of the people. Like, why do people create people? And just acknowledging a few more things that are look to be pretty true. Just one of them being, when it comes to the creation of people, when it comes to human motivation that leads to the creation of people, there's a lot, it's going to vary a lot. The reasons as to why people bring about that gradual process of the creation of what will eventually be fully developed people that are going to have to, suffer a lot and then decay and die, they vary. There's a lot of variation in motivation that leads to the creation of people. I'm rhyming a lot. And it matters. I mean, the variation in reason, it really does matter. It's not irrelevant. It's something that it has to, when it comes to questions of suffering and human flourishing, and it really does seem to matter a lot. Like the circumstances of the conceptions, of what will eventually be fully developed people, it looks to matter a lot. And another thing worth acknowledging, I think, is a lot of people, like a hell of a lot of people, don't seem to really feel any level of obligation, it looks like, to take care of their creations, like their own children. Many people who create people, they don't seem to really care that much about the people that they've created. And I mean, if you owe anyone anything, like if you owe anyone anything at all, it's the people you've brought into being, you've forced into existence. If there's any level of obligation that should be, it's for those people. And the reasons, they vary in terms of why many people don't seem to really care about their created people, their biological extensions. But a lot of it has to do with who they fucked and how they fucked them. So I think that's some of the best advice that you'll ever hear is just, be really, really careful about who you fuck and how you fuck them. The vast majority of the people that are watching these videos on this channel, again, are guys. So the advice would be, be really careful about, if you're a straight male, who you're fucking and how you're fucking them. Because that is a very, very slippery slope. And the level of concern that you'll feel, if you are to eventually have children, the level of concern that you'll feel for them, and what that will be based on, a lot of it will be based, because we're human beings, we're animals, we're primates, so we're very self-centered in terms of, so when it comes to concern, when it comes to incentive felt for taking care of your children, a lot of it is going to be dependent, for many people, who you've done that with. It really does seem to matter to many people. A lot of people deeply hate the person that they've had children with. So yeah, be more careful about who you fuck and how you fuck them. That's how I feel about it. If you're a guy, you got to be careful about that. You got to be really careful. It's yeah, I feel like that's some pretty safe advice. And more people should try to abide by, adhere to. Just be more careful about who you fuck and how you fuck them. Be more mindful about it. Take some things into consideration. If you stand especially if you stand to create people, but just in general, for your own well-being, for your own sake,